Thieves think, okay, the adjustments we made, that was the reason for it. Tristana is up, so TSM would have the ability to go towards that if they want. Udyr is also available here as a priority pick.
All right, TSM, they're taking their time thinking about it. Want to make sure that they analyze all the options. And hey, they had to deal with it last time around, so this time around, 100 Thieves are going to have to deal with race car Udyr.
All right, well, Tristana up. You think it's got to be going the other way. When Ryoma's willing to play it, when FBI is willing to play it, there's no reason to not grab a strong flex pick, but never mind. It's not a flex pick anymore. It's going to be Tristana bot. It's going to be Orianna mid. Very high prio in this, and it is interesting. You know, they clearly want Ryoma on the Orianna. They are much more comfortable on that side of the matchup than they are on the Azir side, but I think that's fine for TSM, and pros generally seem pretty split on which is better anyway, and it comes down mostly to comfort, to individual champion expertise. Of course, Ryoma getting the best of PowerOfEvil last game on the Orianna, but it is a Nocturne. Okay,
yeah,
wow. So Nocturne's locked in.
This
is going to be Nocturne top.
Yeah, Nocturne top.
I think there's almost no chance with it being PowerOfEvil that it goes mid, so I'm just assuming this is going to be Nocturne top for Huni. This does give the chance for 100 Thieves, again, 4 straight games to counterpick top lane, though. Ssumday will have his answer into this matchup. This is a pick that does have incredible wave clear. You can trade fairly effectively against a lot of matchups, but some of the bruisers can be pretty difficult for him if you are really willing to go into more of that kind of 1v1 style. Of course, generally people more pick Nocturne for pushing and moving. You shove the wave out, utilizing your passive, the AoE cleave there. Your Q obviously helps to do that. You go towards Stridebreaker, you have AoE damage on that, so you can insta-kill waves, move towards mid, move towards jungle, look for the 2v2s, look for the 3v1s, the dives mid lane with your jungler, and really try to make things happen. So this is a very different look than what we have seen from Huni the last couple times around. With the Olaf coming through, it does mean they could ban out some of the things that they consider to be the biggest threats to that Nocturne up in the top lane. So 100 Thieves putting higher priority on the Olaf this time around than we have seen throughout this series. You know, Olaf has been falling through picks and bans time and time again here, but this time they don't want to go towards the AP jungler. They want to match that Udyr with the Olaf, and we'll see what bans TSM throws out, because I really am expecting some targeting of the top lane.
Did you see the win rate number on Olaf? 71% win rate. Goodness, man. That champion definitely causes a ruckus whenever he gets locked in, so 100 Thieves are looking to cash in on that here this game. Jinx banned away. They know that Lost has liked to play that champion. They don't want to allow him back on that. Malphite banned out by TSM. They don't want to allow this Nocturne. They don't want to have this Nocturne playing into a Malphite or something, so that one's taken off the table. 100 Thieves, again, just continuing to focus these AD carries. They already got Tristana. They know they have a top-tier pick, so they want to keep Lost off of these other hyper-scaling AD carries here. What will the last ban be for TSM? You already know that you got to be looking at top laners or at supports. Malphite was the first ban. Do they want to continue to try to target Ssumday, make it so there's a more likely good matchup for Huni there in the top lane? No, they want to keep Huhi off of the Alistar.
Yeah, given that the next pick will be 100 Thieves, they're looking to take away some priority engage. There's not really any engage right now on the 100 Thieves side. They'll likely be looking for some. They could look towards something like a Leona or a Nautilus if they want to prioritize the engage. The Sion is something that is just kind of built to withstand the Nocturne. You can shrug it off. Given that it is Udyr, yes, there's going to be some magic damage there, but still you're going to be fine. You know, going early Tabbies, going early Bramble, these sorts of builds, and just surviving the damage that Nocturne can put out. You have fairly good clear yourself. You're difficult to dive. So I think it makes sense. It also gives them a little bit of an engage, as well as frontline for Orianna, for the Tristana, these two hyperscaling carries that 100 Thieves really wants to focus their draft around. Xayah coming through, I do like that as the pick. It'll be interesting to see if it's paired with Leona, if they're actually going to go something like Xayah Rakan, which has become much less popular these days, it feels like in general. Oftentimes when we see Xayah come through, it's just paired with a different engaged support, but it will be Xayah Rakan, so pretty powerful early laning phase. And if you don't have a strong laning support with this can be difficult for Tristana. You know, Tristana, the only way you actually trade equally against these kind of lanes is when you have your explosive charge. So what they can do is walk forward, they force out your E, they back up, and then they just start walking at you again, and you can't really fight them. You know, especially if they want to go towards kind of some of the more laning style setups, if you want to go more aggressive. You can go towards things like, in the past we even saw, you know, Hail of Blades. I don't think we're going to get that or anything, but it can be very difficult to actually compete in those early levels for Tristana against these types of matchups. So it will be Sett. Sett is a strong brawler, and I think that makes sense to try to protect some of the weakness that Tristana will have in those early laning phases, because I talk about how Xayah Rakan can literally just walk at a Tristana and right-click him. You can't do that when the Sett is actually just beating you up in between, right? So now you'd have to be walking through the Sett. I still think that Prio should be in the favor of TSM, that they should be able to have the push and be able to get advantage there. But the Tristana is going to be harder to attack just straight up, you know, in those early laning phases. It's going to be more about poke, more about finding the engage if you can. So we'll see if they're going to be able to do that. But again, it's looking like we are heading towards 5v5.
Yes.
And both teams, I think, are pretty well set up for it. I think the biggest kind of wrinkle here is Huni's pick, right? Is he going to be able to do well in the 1v1? Is he going to be able to have the push? If you were playing Nocturne top from ahead, it really feels like a strong pick, because all of a sudden you always have the push and everyone has to be scared about where you can move. You know, Closer wants to be aggressive, wants to be able to run the map as this early game Olaf, but every time Huni pushes in the wave and moves, you've got to be scared of the ultimate. You've got to be scared about Udyr plus the Nocturne showing up in your jungle and killing you. And you've got to be worried as Ryoma about a 3-man play coming mid, you know, with the Udyr and the Nocturne. So it's going to be critical for Huni to have a good laning phase here.
30 seconds.
And taking a look at everything, pretty standard stuff for runes, for summoner spells. Nothing seems too far off here. FBI and Lost both running a heal. We have seen Cleanse a couple of times in this series so far, but not this time around. SwordArt with the Exhaust instead of an Ignite. Really good against Tristana, just because she likes to jump in on top of you and fully commit to trades, so Exhaust can bait her into a bad situation there. But yeah, when I'm looking at the 100 Thieves comp, I really like the fact that they're sticking with this more team fighting capable comp as opposed to what we saw in the first couple of games of the series here, just because look at these meatballs. You've got a Sion, you've got a Sett, you've got an Olaf. That is one hell of a front line to protect Tristana and Orianna to be those two big cannons later on as we scale forward.
It is really, really powerful as far as that front line. Of course, TSM do have some backline access, so that is where, you know, the kind of X factor is going to be. The powerful engage that can come through from someone like Rakan, the follow-up that could be there potentially from an Azir, you know, sweeping in and knocking people back with the wall. I do think that when I talk about ease of execution, that's something I focused on heavily from the TSM side in the first couple of games. These 2 carry, 3 frontline comps are about as easy as you can get as far as what's the win condition and how do you play out the fights. Put the beat balls in the front, the squishy guys stand behind them, and they shoot whatever's in range. And that's literally how you play it, right? It's no more complicated than that. But that being said, when you play 2-threat comps, if the other team can pull off a dive and get on top of them and burst down either the Tristana or the Orianna, your comp can sometimes really peter out because the damage is lacking in the rest of the members of the team.
Well, up here on the top side, it is Huni with control over the lane early on. Exactly as you mentioned, Nocturne with so much AoE built into the kit, it's very easy to shove these waves out, have control up there. Huni he's finally out of Jace matchup jail. He doesn't have to deal with this lane bully anymore. He gets to play a normal matchup between 2 melee champions, the way that top lane was invented for.
Yeah, man, it's a little bit more of a fun game probably for him this time around. There's some really positive interactions as well with the spell shield. I mean, there becomes this little mini game where Sion starts charging his Q, and then you try to release the Q before the Nocturne will actually spell shield. But as long as the Nocturne plays it properly, you should never get knocked up, right? Because you can always just spell shield at the end of the Q, making sure that he's never going to get a full charge slam of you and knock you up on that. And that's really where Sion comes out on top. So he may be able to get the quick snap ones where it gets a little bit of poke damage off, but it's very difficult to actually ever get a full charge Q off on a Nocturne who has that spell shield available.
Yeah, you saw right there as we panned the camera up to the top lane, Ssumday did just get one of those shorter duration Qs. Not quite with a knockup, but still a little bit of damage. Spica has taken the bottom side crab here, and now just running straight through mid lane. Doesn't even care that 100 Thieves now has eyes on him. Ooh. He just wants to be able to grab both Scuttle Crabs, and he'll do just that.
And this early laning phase is going great for PowerOfEvil. You can see that Ryoma already used both his potions, and he's down to about 30-20% health now.
There you go.
The spell shield there.
Yeah. Ssumday with a nice bit of patience, outlasting Huni's spell shield and getting the knock-up on him in the back end of the trade.
Yep, just used a little bit early. Ryoma down to like 5%. He's going to be sent back. The wave is equalized, though. He was able to hang on until that cannon wave came out, so PowerOfEvil can't just hard shove and actually deny a lot there. We'll see which way this wave does shove. When it meets in the middle, honestly, it's pretty random which way it's going to go and who's going to kind of get the advantage. So we'll see if either mid laner wants to use their TPs, but for now it feels like they're just holding on to it. Huni out of mana, so he's likely going to want to just try to shove this in, then reset himself. The teleport has already been used by Ssumday, but if you can shove in on a cannon wave like this and get it fully to that tower, then you can sometimes just hold on to your teleport.
And Huni does have a couple of cookies in the inventory to restore a little bit of mana there. He did eat one of them. Now back to the base he goes. And you can see in his inventory the tier is purchased, but bottom side, the 2v2. Nice interrupt there on the rocket jump. FBI now might be in some trouble, but Huhi's looking to turn this back around with a haymaker on the back end of the fight. Spica was nearby. He ran over a ward on his way here, so 100 Thieves knew they didn't want to try to commit to taking this fight all the way.
And TSM do come out on top because they force the additional flash, knocking FBI out of the jump. They get the 3 summoners 4-2, and they get the longer one. Spica, though, he's going to have to flash now, so that evens out. Huhi may have to use his as well.
Yeah, Huhi's taking a lot of punishment right now. Flashes away, stays alive. Closer now the one who's got to be careful. Blast cone over the wall to stay safe. And TSM finds themselves in enemy territory. FBI with a point-blank jump. And it's first blood, make it 2 over to the 100 Thieves AD carry.
Oh, that is so big. They were really close to taking him down, but FBI surviving, and in this disadvantageous 2v2, being able to get not only first blood, but a double kill this early is so huge for 100 Thieves.
And Spica just barely gets away, too. You could see him running through the mid lane there, down to about 50 HP. But the Udyr will at least live. Man, that was massive for 100 Thieves. They played it well. They baited TSM in. Here it is again.
All right, let's see this one more time. One of the biggest things is that Ryoma is actually first to move. You know, TSM is chasing in. Lost is trying to zone out FBI. They commit forward, but Olaf is getting so much damage done, and the Tristana is largely being ignored. They turn onto him now, but Spica has already bailed out of the fight because Ryoma arrives. If PowerOfEvil was the first one there, Spica could have potentially stayed in the fight. Maybe he should have anyway, but that is one of those situations where mid priority actually was massive because that made the Udyr bail out, which gives those 2 kills over. And as a result of Ryoma playing that well, getting there faster, it's a huge advantage for 100 Thieves.
100 Thieves doing a good job protecting Closer as he takes that first Drake, too. Very early Drake number 1 here before 7 minutes. Means that 100 Thieves are already on the board in terms of objectives as well as kills now. So feeling great about how things are looking thus far. Huhi with the Hex Flash over the wall just finds a little bit of damage onto SwordArt, but honestly not that much. And FBI will just continue shoving this wave up and forcing TSM to come back into lane and answer it. Nice jump away. Escapes the knock-up from the grand entrance this time.
Yeah, that was pretty close, but is going to be able to get out of there scot-free. And he has the pickaxe on top of the same buy that Lost does have. Pink Ward in there as well. So FBI with a lot of early combat power, accelerating the scaling here for the Tristana. Spica trying to make things happen here up on the top side. 100 Thieves will be out to that 1,000 early gold lead. Huni now is level 7, so he's got the ultimate online. And this is where, when you're playing a pick like Nocturne, the pressure is on to make things happen. You've got to get out on the map and make things happen. If you're just going to AFK farm against the Sion, your champion will just have less value. So I want to see TSM setting up plays, trying to move where you can get a dive on mid lane, trying to find some sort of a TP plus ultimate play on bot lane. You've got to be proactive about getting these ultimates out because largely that's where your success is based as Nocturne.
Okay, bottom side, we're still looking to see level 6s come online for both TSM laners. However, FBI already hitting level 6 here on the Tristana, and we know how much extra power that can give that champion, both in terms of protection and peel, or just 100-0 wombo comboing somebody with an all-in. That's what the exhaust from SwordArt is there to try to prevent. Both of those top laners still have the ultis up and ready to go, whereas Nocturne usually uses his ulti to try to get involved somewhere else on the map. Oftentimes during laning phase, we see Sion just ult back to lane when he goes back. It's like a pseudo teleport to return to lane and not miss out on anything. Huni continues just winning these trades here, but not by a ton because Ssumday is still a very tanky boy.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? You just don't do that much damage to the Sion. The Sion can't just walk out and fight you to the death when you have Conqueror and Fear and Spell Shield is Q. But he's also not pushed out of lane easily whatsoever. Every time you go in for the trade, he's going to pop up the W. He can get a Grasp Auto off, heal up a bit. And he has good AoE wave clear himself to really defend the tower. And that's more what his job is. It's less contesting the wave, and it's more keeping that tower as healthy as he can. May lose the first play here. We'll see if Huni's even in range, but won't quite go down.
Good stuff from Ssumday defending that one. Still down about just under 2 waves worth of farm. And in the jungle, despite the fact that Olaf for a long time was, like the power clearing jungler, he could clear so fast, his speeds were insane. Nope, that's not the case here in this game, as now we got the play being made. Spica comes over the wall, TSM looking to grab the kill, Ssumday running away, 100 Thieves shows up, but not in time, and TSM picks up a free kill.
Good pick there, but honestly, Ssumday just straight up misplayed. Using the ulti as the Nocturne is coming in, he's going to be inside your hitbox. So the ulti goes nowhere, right? You need to accept the ultimate is going to land, then flash and try to ulti afterwards. Perhaps that could have been outplayed, but given that he already used the ulti, then flashed afterwards, there was no chance of escape for him there. So they score on that first ultimate from Huni, and that's a big deal for Nocturne. That's really what you want to look for, is pretty much farm it out, ultimate's up, get a kill. Farm it out, ultimate's up, look for a play. And you just rinse and repeat, and that's pretty much Nocturne in all roles, whether it's mid, top, or jungle. You just are having these very clear windows where you're so powerful with that ulti, and you gotta make the most out of them.
PowerOfEvil still hasn't really had too much of an impact on the game here. 0-0 and 0, farming up on the Azir. You mentioned last game when we were talking about the scaling of TSM's composition with having an Azir, having a Jinx. It's 3 items where PowerOfEvil really feels confident, really feels strong on this champion. So plenty of farming on the way until he hits that point here in this game, since we're just now only 10.5 minutes in. Total gold. FBI is the man who got 2 kills on his team, so it only makes sense that he's the guy that's far out ahead of everybody else. 4,400 gold here for the Tristana. As you can see, she does almost have that mythic item completed. Spica again in the top lane, trying to make a move. Ssumday doesn't even have the ulti ready to go to try to escape on this one. They'll just continue putting the auto attacks in him, and there's plenty of damage here. TSM tie up this game.
That's pretty big. Getting that kill there, he had no summoner, he had no ulti. Does have the TP, but with Herald here, this tower is just gone. By the time you actually respawn and start TPing, the Herald would already be summoned and you would already be losing it. So not even going to be able to get an opportunity to try to respond to this. FBI, though, pushing on this bottom side, looking to potentially grab this second plate. Full tower will go down top side, though, and this is going to unlock Huni to move around the map even more. They need to be proactive still, though. You don't want to just kill off this tower and then have Sion holding a freeze at his tier 2. You want to be killing off this tower and then using that to take over the top quadrant of the jungle, to dominate 3 sections of the map. Have Spica farming that top side as well as his own side of the jungle, and that's how you're going to get the most out of taking that tier 1 down.
Closer will at least be able to grab the second Drake here, 400 Thieves, so they've got that control early on, as they have had for the entire series. Once again, we will see a Cloud Soul be the one this game. We saw what that could do for Udyr. Now you got Huni making a play in mid lane. Good spell shield to avoid the shockwave from Ryoma that may have killed him if it connected. 100 Thieves keep their mid laner alive, and he survives the game.
Yeah, well done. He does get the flash out, so I would say successful play. You know, Huni spell shields the shockwave, as you said, so it's a trade of ultis, but they also get the flash. So Huni, 2 for 2 as far as my checklist goes on effective ultimates there. Ssumday is freezing the wave, so this is your concern when you take down the early tower, but as I said, you need to use this to then get into your opponent's jungle. Spica just walks up, smites that away. Closer didn't have smite. It's just coming off cooldown now, so no ability to really contest. But as long as you're taking that tower and then Huni's threatening ults as Spica invades and you're farming additional camps, I think it's worthwhile.
TY for leash. Closer just sets it up for Spica to knock it down. Kim Tank online here for the Udyr means plenty of playmaking still available too. Ssumday will just keep farming up in the top side, and we'll see where Huni goes. For those not aware, the modern way to play Nocturne is a very bruiser-style build. That Stride Breaker is always the first item. Then you'll usually see more stuff after the fact. You can go into tank items if you really need to be more of a frontline. Yeah. Sterix Gage, another very popular choice here on the champions. So Huni's only going to get tougher as this game goes forward. This is not the Nocturnes of old that are just a ballistic missile that jumps in, kills one guy, and then dies immediately after.
I tend to think that just Stridebreaker, Sterix, and then into tank is the best way to go. Throw some CDR boots in there. Your ultimate gets pretty low. You assume that he has Cosmic Insight, so he's going to have a little CDR there. And it makes it so that, yes, you don't have that instant 100-0 kill that a lethality build could provide, but you have so much more sticking power with the Stridebreaker slow. It allows you to get the tethered fear off very consistently, and it also means that even if you go in, you ult in, and someone flashes away, you aren't just dead instantly. And if they aren't able to do that, with Conqueror, with Lethal Tempo, with this style of build, you can stick onto them and slowly knock them down. Looking for a pick here onto Huhi.
Well, Huni will be just fine. He'll walk away, gives him the thumbs up. Nice try, guys. but he's not going to overcommit to that Raptor camp. SwordArt takes a little bit of damage from explosive shot here, but he ain't too worried about it. FBI and Huhi falling back because TSM is sending 4 down here to the bottom lane. We are now past that 14-minute mark. Turret plating is gone. They can put a lot of damage into the turret. Huhi goes in for the flash into the face breaker playmaker. FBI on a killing spree, and he's got the reset to keep on going. Closer finds himself in a bit of a bad spot, but the rest of the team running over means Closer's able to grab the kill. He flashes back over the wall. Huni probably ready to take him down here. Shockwave comes out, and that one still turns into a 1-for-1 on the back end of the fight. 100 Thieves, 3-for-1.
Nicely done by 100 Thieves. TSM moved for bot, but the TP came in faster from Ssumday. The rotation came in from 100 Thieves. They had 5 members there faster. And I would have liked to see TSM actually hard commit to that and look for a play. You know, Closer and Ryoma are moving, yes, but if you actually pop the Nocturne ulti, like, as your team is coming down and TP first, Sion can't respond. The TP and the ulti is actually coming through so much later. I mean, Sion ulti is already here. He's already TP'd. He's in the fight before Huni even arrives. So that's something where I feel like you have to be decisive. And if that's one of the things that Nocturne top can really do that's quite powerful is you can set up a TP play and prevent your opponent from answering that by ulting and then starting the TP, and your ult lasts long enough that you arrive at the play with the TP and you can still use that to jump on someone and really get that fight in earnest.
Very powerful stuff indeed. Turbo Kim Tank now completed for Ssumday after that play wraps up. So he'll have extra engage power, extra playmaking potential here too. Mythic items are starting to come online for pretty much everyone. You can see the Gale Force for FBI. If you thought Tristana didn't have enough protective capabilities already with a reset jump and a disengage ulti, let's put another dash on top of it. FBI can take care of himself, especially with a 3-0-2 start. This Tristana is set up magnificently to succeed. And I want to bring up what you mentioned when we saw him play in the Ashe earlier, Azael, talking about how FBI shines when he's able to hyper carry, outplay, and really showcase his skill. This is the situation. This is the champ. This is the game to do it.
You can absolutely do it on Tristana, you know, and you can walk that line where you're playing extremely dangerous. But if you are on the right side of the line, when you jump in, you get that kill, you get that reset, you can take a game over. So Tristana, a lot of power there. Again, TSM is doing these plays where they prioritize grouping up and actually pushing down a tower. And in a couple of cases, 100 Thieves has actually just sent out FBI to the side lane to get solo experience, to get solo gold, so he takes down a tower of his own. And as you know, as Tristana levels up, your passive is just increased range on the auto attacks. So getting solo experience is actually quite valuable. It's one of the reasons that I think mid lane Tristana can be quite effective. You know, getting the additional range earlier on in the game is very, very nice. And FBI, 3 early kills, has the 2 assists, solo gold on that tower. He's probably at his PD now. And that is just such a ridiculously strong point in the game for the Tristana when you're looking over, you know, at Lost, who's just completing his mythic item and just has a quick look on top.
Yeah, Lost just now completing the Gale Force, while FBI goes back to buy that second item. Yes, Lost at least still has the cloak in inventory, so it's not just 1 item compared to 2, but it feels so much better for FBI. The good news for TSM fans is TSM did manage to stop the soul stacking here, so 1 to 2 in terms of the dragon count. The gold very, very close between these 2 squads. This is looking like one of those games, Isaac, where it's coming down to execution. Who plays it better? Who's the one who gets to start the fight on their terms?
Absolutely. And I think that when you're considering those types of situations and you're looking over and you're saying, all right, well, if it's just going to be 5v5, show up at the Dragon, start the fight, everyone has those battle lines established, I'd rather have a Sion than a Nocturne. You know, Nocturne really thrives in the chaos. Split the map, catch people in transition, dive people who are trying to answer a wave in the side lane. And that's the kind of situation that TSM is really going to have to actually go for. So they need to be the ones pushing the pace and dictating where and how you are fighting a little bit more. Otherwise, just a mega fed Tristana with a beefy Sion in front of you is going to be tough to deal with, because I don't feel that Huni is strong enough that just him plus the Rakan are going to be able to consistently kill off carries in the backline. They're going to need additional damage, and that's going to be tough for someone like Lost or maybe even PowerOfEvil to really get through the front line to join them and finish off those carries. So we'll see if they can find that engage. We'll see if they can find that execution that it's going to take.
3 minutes until the next Drake spawns. Baron is going to be on the map here in under 1. And if you're TSM, you've managed to take a Baron in under 25 minutes in all 3 games so far, including even the one that they lost. So 100 Thieves really needs to be aware here in the next minute or so. Once this Baron comes alive, they need to make sure that that doesn't happen for the 4th time in a row.
Yeah, I mean, it's Baron o'clock. Somebody's got to be watching. No. TSM have got the setup around here. They have the scuttle. They got a pink in the river. Spica is spotted. But 100 Thieves are moving over, right? They are trying to clear out the vision in their jungle, and that is a really important part of being able to prevent Baron. Because if you can keep the enemy wards out of your jungle, then you have the safety to walk up and check the pit at any point. And then it becomes much less of a threat, where you just walk up, you poke your head, and all right, they're not doing it, we're all good. But if you cannot maintain control of your jungle because the top lane tier 1 is down, potentially because they're wiping out all your wards there, it gets really, really risky. You're always nervous of if they're rushing it, especially when there's an Azir on the team, right? There's the threat of just Azir and Udyr two-manning this Baron if you don't have eyes on them.
And now we'll see Closer taking a little bit of damage here, but PowerOfEvil isn't going to be caught out of position so easily. Not by an Olaf, not when he's Azir. It's just, it's a little too tall of an order here as 100 Thieves will invade the enemy jungle. Huhi finds his way here. Oh, and a nice ulti, bringing Spica right back over to the AD carry, but now they got to be careful. SwordArt's looking to lock everybody down. They want to get Tristana away from the problem. The Shockwave's not going to find much. Huni now running away towards the enemy jungle, and here comes the Sion train. Huni might just escape back to the safety of his team. Closer trying to work together with Ssumday here to find a little bit more. There's no Olaf ulti. PowerOfEvil now into the back, but FBI is able to find huge damage. PowerOfEvil is gone, and 100 Thieves are feeling great about it. Huhi ready to Hex Flash over the wall, continue chasing these guys. Yes, it's a good route coming out from Lost, but it's still a win here in the fight and a 1-for-0 for 100 Thieves.
And that's the kind of fight that I'm talking about, where Huni and SwordArt get into the back line, but you don't have the damage without an additional dive buddy there to finish anybody off. 100 Thieves able to kite it out. Huni did a great job actually surviving for so long, getting back to the rest of his team, but we'll see this fight one more time. They started up again. Huni a little bit slow on the ult plus TP. He couldn't stop the Sion from arriving. The Shockwave did whiff as Huni was able to get out of there. Huni then fully on the run here. FBI coming back around to his team. He's warded out. So it's eyes on FBI. We know PowerOfEvil needs to get into this fight, needs to have an impact. He had not been there yet. He flashes to try to go in and take out these carries, but both Ryoma and FBI are equal to the task. They respond, they flash out of the Azir ult. Really well played by them. And with the Azir going down for free, there was no way to continue that fight. So PowerOfEvil, a little bit late to the play, tries to make the big play. It isn't happening. And I've got to take some time to really credit Ryoma. When we were on the analyst desk at the start of the day, High put this matchup 100-0 in the favor of PoE. Other people were putting it, 95-5, 90-10. The fans had it enormously in the favor of PoE. And I'm not saying Ryoma was a better player than PoE. It's clearly been proven that PoE can outplay him on these control mages throughout the year. But today, Ryoma has been equal to the task. I think he has been performing incredibly well. He has been as good or better than him the last 2 games when they were playing control mage versus control mage, which is the wheelhouse of PowerOfEvil.
Yeah, in this game, 2-0-3, no deaths, 5 out of 6 kill participation. Yeah, people will look at the last team fight and go Shockwave, Kek W, but that doesn't matter because he's the one who's rotating to the fights first. He's the one who's been enabling his team to pop off better. And honestly, Ryoma's having a good show here. I've got to agree with you, especially once they change the plan in Game 3. But now let's see how it works out. Ryoma's trying to get away right as we sing his praises. He's shut down, and TSM makes themselves a big pick and an even bigger pick after. Huhi tries to get away. Huni's going to be taken down to 100. Everybody on 100 Thieves is falling apart. How does it keep happening? Baron is going to be the next objective for TSM at 23 minutes.
Just as we're talking about it, we cursed them flowers. This one I can't even deny. They get to the back line, and this time the difference was they had the additional member. It wasn't just SwordArt and the Nocturne. They're flying in, and Spica is there too. Look at the Udyr right in on top. Lost is getting zoned out, but you have 3 members on top of the carries. You have the CC, and that is what I was talking about. You need that additional man to get there. The fear landing on the Sion just in time to get Huni out to safety. Scoop in on the Sion as well, get that kill. The flashes weren't available for the carries, and TSM found their moment and got the maximum out of it. They get the kills, they get the Baron, and a game that was starting to feel like 100 Thieves were running away with it swings wildly back to the favor of TSM.
4 games. In every single one, TSM got a Baron before 25 minutes. It is just almost unbelievable at this point that it happens over and over and over and over, but TSM are now feeling great about where they're sitting here in this game. 100 Thieves does have only one more Drake to go before they grab the Soul, so that is something they can still be counting on. But right now, we've still got over 2 minutes of Baron buff remaining for TSM to build their gold lead.
Yeah, that is really, really powerful, and getting some gold back in the pockets of Lost, helping to catch him up a little bit. He is still behind where FBI is at itemization-wise, but has 2 items, has the Crit Cloak on top, so he's just down that last Whisper now, not nearly as bad as it had been before. I do think Cloud Soul is actually super valuable this game for a lot of the champions that are very heavily move speed based.
So good.
When you're looking at, Olaf, but Udyr, Rakan, Nocturne, Sion, Huhi here as well, and he is going to be able to catch out Lost.
Okay, the Haymaker comes out to keep Huhi alive still. Spica's ready to approach on the flank, and Huni's already diving into everybody. A lot of damage coming out with FBI exhausted. He can't do a whole lot just yet. It's a 1-for-1. Supports have dropped on both sides.
Man, SwordArt just got exploded when he went in there. They do trade the supports, though. PowerOfEvil is here, so Realma has to be a little bit careful. There's no objective up, so it was just Huhi looking for the pick. TSM able to respond, critical that they did not lose their carry. They have the Baron buff, and with this, you can see FBI is bot, Ssumday is top, so both these towers are just gone. There's no way you can really step up and defend these. So TSM able to extend their gold lead. The Baron power play here with that Red Bull Baron getting pretty big. 3,300 gold in the favor of TSM. They're out to a nearly 5,000 gold lead at this point. PowerOfEvil is on a very high DPS build as well. He's got the Leandries plus the Nashers. This is kind of the 2-item combo to really shred frontline. And there's 3 juicy frontliners for him to hit. As long as they can't actually get access to him, I mean, if you're trying to dive onto the Xayah and Azir is able to just set up shop and start smacking away on Sion, on Olaf, on Huhi as well on the Sett, you're going to get shredded.
Very interesting game state we've got ourselves here. This gold lead has now expanded up to 4,500 for TSM, but it's only a little over a minute left before that potential Cloud Soul spawns for the side of 100 Thieves. We'll see whether or not they feel confident taking a fight in open ground to go for that. Pretty important purchase here. You can see Ssumday now has the fully completed Thornmail, and this is such a big difference compared to the baby version of the item in the Bramble Vest, because this allows you to proactively apply Grievous wounds.
Yeah.
Instead of just, hey, if they attack me, they have Grievous. Now, as long as you apply some sort of a hard CC, you can put the Grievous on the person that you're specifically targeting. So good purchase here for Ssumday. Looking across the rest of the itemization, you can see that closers Olaf 1, 2, and 3 definitely not having as good of a game as Spica on the Udyr with 3, 0, and 5, full kill participation. And you can see, despite the fact that juggernauts with no mobility like Udyr normally love Dead Man's Plate for the extra movement speed, Spica is prioritizing the survivability, the tank stats of the Randuins that'll make him much more durable when he has to run in there and survive that Tristana just gunning for him.
And look at Huhi right now. Huhi is setting up on a flank. There's question mark pings around there, so TSM is aware that he could be on a flank. They've got to retreat as 5 down towards the Dragon, but this means they lose control of mid lane, and now we're kind of in this weird spot where TSM is split. Spica and PowerOfEvil are not with the rest of their squad, so they've got to be careful about a fight breaking out.
Huni does get away, uses the Stride Breaker and the Spell Shield to make sure he can get out of Ssumday's clutches. Dragon has spawned. Let's see who wants to fight over it. 100 Thieves. Wow, Ssumday's just getting stabbed to pieces by those soldiers. Cannot walk through those whatsoever. Thornmail might be good for grievous wounds, but it don't do much against AP damage. And TSM stops the soul yet again.
Yeah, TSM did a really good job there just getting the inside track. 100 Thieves tried to flank. It was red. You could see the question mark pings over where Huhi was coming from. They backed off from that as a 5-man squad. They got control of the lane. You know, half of their team actually cutting the wave while Udyr went back to clear out the minions that had got past those guys. And then they just move into the river. And if there are 3 soldiers in between you and where you're trying to go, oh, that is a tough path to walk.
You are not walking past them. No, sir. TSM continuing to push up. Now, look at all those pings in the bottom side of the jungle of 100 Thieves. TSM making sure that they're taking over as much of the map as they can. Place down that vision. Make 100 Thieves nervous to walk into their own jungle, because you never know Where's Udyr going to be camping a bush? Where is Nocturne just going to come flying after you? Huhi and FBI come stepping up. Here goes the attack, though. It's Tristana jumping in. You thought Nocturne jumps on the AD carry. The AD carry jumps on Nocturne. FBI getting paid.
And 30 seconds until Baron spawns. Huni's still going to be dead, so they could actually march over there and try to make something happen here. Potentially TSM over on that side of the map. But that is a pretty big deal. And something also worth pointing out is, we talk about those two carries who you want to be diving on. Well, Zonia is now complete for Ryoma. Stopwatch available on FBI.
Oh, man.
Who do you want to dive onto as the Nocturne? That gets pretty tough.
Both those options are terrible now.
Yeah.
Stasis is so good for that.
At that point, you're basically diving on them to force Stasis or force them to retreat and buying time for PowerOfEvil and Lost to kill off their front line. And it becomes, all right, well, how long can I survive? All right, I got a stopwatch too. They go into stopwatch, I go into stopwatch. Just try to make them run away from you and create this zone where they cannot be hitting your front line and PowerOfEvil is hitting their front line, and you hope that that is going to be enough because it's going to get a lot tougher to really take down the Orianna and the Tristana from this point.
Okay, Nocturne has his work cut out for him. We'll see if Huni can make this one happen here. Level 16 on the Nocturne means maximum range there for the Paranoias. Remember the Nocturne's ulti back at level 1 honestly isn't really that far range, but once you get up here to level 16, once you're level 3, that thing can go on for miles. 2.5 minutes till the Drake spawns. Baron is live on the map. You can see one control ward placed down by 100 Thieves in that pit, so they know that TSM isn't on it so far. But if 100 Thieves wants to fight TSM in open ground, they're still down 4,000 gold, so those carries are going to have to get a lot of mileage here and get some value out of those stasis as you were talking about.
They absolutely will, and they'll have to be together as a squad because we actually haven't seen it yet where Sion has been split and Huni has got the ult off early enough to prevent a TP, right? Because that can be a game-changing play. I talked a lot about the 5v5 and how that can be set up, but if Huni can get Sion to match him in a side lane, back off to a brush, pop ulti, TP in, you can get the 5v4, and Sion has to wait for the whole damn ulti to expire before you can even start channeling your TP, and those are big situations.
Well, here we go. They're starting to fight off. Spica is going to be the target. Into the back line goes SwordArt, looking for some of the damage here, but Huhi's going to die. PowerOfEvil taking that one down. Nice stasis coming out from Huni as 100 Thieves are cut to pieces. Ssumday won't be able to do a thing. It's a double kill over to PowerOfEvil, and look at that. Lost is on a killing spree, and TSM is on the victory march.
They've done it, Flowers. They knock them all down, found the team fight they needed. The spawn timers are way too long. 100 Thieves made them work for it, but unless Closer can pull off a miracle here, nothing to do.
He's not pulling off a miracle of any shape, color, or size. TSM with a Bud Light ace. Yes, the games were close. Yes, 100 Thieves was able to stop him from making it a clean sweep, but TSM will defeat 100 Thieves 3-1, and they'll go on to continue to play next week for a shot at winning the Mid-Season Showdown.
That is a huge win there for TSM. What a decisive final fight there from them. You can see Huni was laughing. He was smiling after he got that final play. Stasis on the shockwave coming through there from Ryoma, able to dive in on top of him.
And that's what we were talking about. Oh man, his job is so difficult now because both the enemy carries have stasis. Well, if both enemy players have an incredibly powerful active, if he just buys the same incredibly powerful active, all of a sudden, playing field's level again. And it works out perfectly. 100 Thieves can't out-team fight TSM in that situation, and they earned themselves a victory here in this series with that last team fight.
Yeah, that was really impressive stuff. I mean, being able to disengage the immediate engage that came through. Huhi got burst down before he could even get his W off on the Sett, got absolutely erased. The dodge actually from the Gale Force on the Sion ulti coming through was really clean. That allowed Lost to save his Xayah ultimate for later on in the fight to get a really good pull through on the feathers. Then once they're diving in, PowerOfEvil is there to follow up with a really good Azir ultimate. That was just such a well-played fight on all sides from TSM. And really, that to me was the difference in this series. 100 Thieves was really close in a lot of these games and had opportunities to win in a lot of these games. But when it really counted in those big fights, those final moments, it was always TSM that seemed more on the same page. It was always TSM that had the correct outplay, that had the big moment from their star players. And 100 Thieves just weren't really able to string those together.
Mm-hmm. TSM definitely showing that they are the better team here today, winning those first couple of close games. They drop game number 3 after 100 Thieves switches up their style, but then in game number 4, TSM shows that yes, they can still respond to that style as well. They'll take the series, and that means we get to see them next week at the Greek. But for now, that's all for myself and Azael.